I wanted to write an essay about this particular relationship I had with Korean food after my mom died. I thought it was kind of a cute story. Basically, I was going to therapy in Union Square, and it was like $100 copay for me to go to Union Square during rush hour after work. And at a certain point, I was just like, I think if I had $400 a month to just take myself out to a nice dinner or buy a bunch of groceries, I would be more mentally stable and happier than going to therapy.
Yeah.
And so I stopped going to therapy. I started going to H Mart. I pitched it to every literary contest without an entry fee and a bunch of blogs. And at a certain point, I was just like, please just take this for free. Please just upload this to your website. And no one wanted it. And then 9 months later, I got an email from Glamour magazine that I thought was spam that said that I had won their essay contest of the year. I got a meeting with the literary agent and $5,000. So I took my paid Christmas break. I came back and I was like, I'm gonna take the 2-month severance. And then with that $5,000 and the 2-month severance, I had like a good cushion. And I had just been invited to South by Southwest, and my music was sort of starting to bubble up. And I thought this is a good time to see where this is going to go, and I have some financial cushion to see how that pans out. And I never worked a day job again.
I work in music and used to play in bands, and so whenever I see, like even just on Instagram, and I look at routings, I felt like there's a lot of kind of on-off, like not like 6-week tour and then gone, but more like spurts and chunks. Like, what is that like as far as being gone and coming home and physical and mental health and the kind of balance?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot after 10 years. I mean, I've been doing this for really even longer than that, if you count any of the fake DIY stuff I was doing, which was...
It's not fake.
Well, it was really hard in a different way. But I think especially the Jubilee cycle, it was right after the pandemic, and it was in my 30s all of a sudden, and the things that I used to be able to do, I could not do anymore. And it's tough because as things get more comfortable on the road, as you become a bigger band, you would think that it would get easier, but I think as you age, or maybe just get used to things, or the pressure mounts, it kind of becomes more difficult in ways that you can't anticipate. So when we came out after the pandemic, we hadn't worked in a year, and we were just ready to go. And we were doing 6 shows a week for 6 weeks in a row. And that was really tough for me. And so, you start creating these rules and boundaries. And this year, there were a lot of things I was a lot more careful about to sort of protect my physical and mental health, and my band and crews too. So it was a lot more enjoyable this year to do touring.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking about, of course, food and writers as some of that stuff that sort of makes it easier for you, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if people know this, but I mean, you have to be kind of like a nut. I mean, if you're a cool band that has like Guts of Gold or something, then I don't know, it's different. But I find that, especially in the last 5 years or so, I can't drink the way that I used to and be expected to perform at a certain caliber that people want me to now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just you can't eat naughty things. And doing that for many years in a row is really hard. So just when I'm back in New York, I'm just a monster. Binge drinking and like eating really spicy food all the time.
Right, it sounds great. Is your band and crew, is it sort of the same general group? Like when there's that year between cycles, do you just get the same crew back together?
Yeah, I'm really close to my band and crew. And everyone that for the most part, everyone we've folded in over time has become like a real permanent member. And I'm an only child, and so I'm very particular about the people. I have a really hard time being around anyone. So it had to be a very strategic selection of people that I could stand.
Yeah,
for long periods of time.
It makes sense, and it's an interesting thing. And I mean, I assume the bigger you've gotten, obviously, the bigger that crew gets. You have lighting people and merch people, and the party's probably pretty large. And even one new person can totally upset that balance, right? 100%. In a good way or a bad way.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had the same merch person for 9 years.
Amazing.
So,
Right.
yeah, I'm really lucky that we've created a real family, and I feel like we support each other, and they're also all very good at their jobs, and I feel really, really lucky to be with that group.
Yeah, that's great. Do you come from a musical family?
Not at all. Not at all.
So where did music enter the picture for you?
My dad claims that his brother was a traveling lyricist. I mean, this is actually true. I don't know why a lyricist would need to travel on tour with a band.
Isn't that just a poet?
I don't know. But so I think that he wants that to come from there. I come from actually a family of voice actors. So my mom's older sister was a voice actress. Her father was a voice actor, and I just learned my great-grandfather was also a voice actor.
How did you just learn that?
The thing is that no one in a Korean family wants to claim you as an artist until you become successful. And so my whole life, my mother had been telling me, to give up this dream, and that it was really not practical, and I should always I should go to school and do all these things. And then once my book came out and I was nominated for a Grammy, suddenly my aunt pulls me into the kitchen and is like, you come from this very long line of artists, so this all makes sense. And yeah, she told me that my great-grandfather, they used to hire a voice actor to do voices for the silent films. So you would go to a theater and you'd watch a silent film, and one voice actor would do all of the dialogue. And do
different voices for different characters.
I guess so. Yeah. And then my grandfather, I knew, did radio plays and commercials and stuff like that. And then my aunt did documentaries and animations. She was the Korean voice for Sailor Mercury. And so yeah, it was in some ways maybe that's where my interest in music came from.
Right, it's at least sort of performative and theatrical, which is
maybe,
music adjacent.
I mean, our family does things with our voice. But yeah, I think that my parents didn't listen to much music growing up. I mean, my dad had Motown CDs or Fleetwood Mac CDs, but he wasn't, I don't know, I don't think he remembers much because he was on drugs for the majority of his 20s and just blocked out that time period. And so yeah, I don't think that I really developed a real interest in music until my teenage years, and it was kind of the first thing that really felt like a character trait or interest of my own, and that's really where I felt like I began to discover my own identity.
Right, and where did that? So many people get that from older siblings or from their parents. Where, as an only child, was it from friends? Where did you sort of get into your music?
So I grew up in Oregon in the Pacific Northwest, so there's a pretty rich indie music scene there, and it was mostly through friends that I learned about different bands that ended up being my favorites.
Yeah. What are some of those bands? I mean, I'm a Northwest indie nerd, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, K Records was a big influence for me, particularly artists like the Moldy Peaches and Mount Eerie and Beat Happening. I think I was especially really moved by those artists because they weren't exceptional, in the sense that they don't have these really exceptional, objectively beautiful voices. They're not necessarily the most skilled musicians, and I think that that's what made music feel so excitingly accessible to me, that despite all the things that you associate with what make music great, I mean, no one can deny certain voices or certain virtuosic talents, but these people had such personal stories and characters and sounds that it made me feel like that was something that I could do with very limited resources. And then, of course, Elliott Smith and Built to Spill and Death Cab for Cutie, these kind of really dynamic guitar rock sort of bands.
Yeah, that's so many, even friends in bands, there's so many people who sort of cite something similar where it's like, I was looking at all these, whatever, bands with beautiful people with long hair, or like these huge grunge bands, and I could never do that. But then I saw Pavement, or then I saw so-and-so, and I thought, I can do that. It's interesting how some of the most inspirational bands are just these kind of normal people who make it work. So it's really interesting on your mother's side. On your father's side, do you know much about his ancestry and his sort of background going back generations?
My dad never knew his father, and his mother, by the time he was born, he was the youngest of 4, and she was a single mother, and I believed paid the rent through working as a journalist. So
interesting.
Yeah.
But no music on that side.
Not that I know of, besides this lyricist uncle.
Right, that's on. Yeah. I know probably a lot of people in this room know that food is a big sort of familial through line for you. Does that exist on both sides of your family?
Not really. I mean, my dad eats a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of funny because everything that I know about quote unquote like American food, or his food relationship to food, is being interpreted was interpreted to me by a Korean woman. So I do remember one interesting thing is when I was preparing to move to Korea last year, I had to go to Eugene to open my parents' safety deposit box to find all of these old documents to prove that my mom was Korean in order to get this visa. And in the security deposit box, I found all this paperwork, and also I found my mom's old diary from when she was 20 years old, written in Korean.
Oh, wow.
And I also found like 3 recipes for like mushroom tetrazzino and like chicken piccata. Just like, and then there was like questions that she took to get sworn in as a citizen, so it was just all of this like really interesting like intro to America kind of stuff. And I don't recall eating any of that stuff, but I assume that it came from someone in my father's family.
You didn't make mushroom tetrazzini?
I don't even know what that is, do you?
No, they sound like sort of like
it's just like stuff with
early
like,
American ethnic recipes. I'm doing air quotes, like
it sounds like something made with like cream of mushroom.
Right,
Campbell's
totally.
soup.
Right, that gloppy.
Which, to me is America.
Well, I mean, now I'm fascinated about everything but the food in that diary. What period was it from, and what else was in there?
It was written in 1978, and my mom was 21 years old. And I'm still in the process of slowly translating this. And my second book is about moving to Korea last year and studying the language, because I never really learned, and I always, and much later really regretted it, I think, especially after my mom passed away. And her older sister is kind of my last remaining relative in Korea, and I think it became really important to me to learn all I could from her before she passes, and be close to her. And finding this diary also was a real gold mine for material for book 2, to make that my goal of learning how to translate it.
Yeah, and it sounds so. It's long. It's not like
it's pretty long, and it's really beautifully kept. I mean, the penmanship is really quite lovely, and but yeah, it's kind of interesting because she's 21 years old, and it's a lot about just boys, and so you're just like, get it together, Mom. I'm like searching for something really deep and beautiful about an existential or something, and it's just like, Charlie won't call me.
But are there ways, of the parts you've read, can you relate to it? Are there things that are like, wow, I feel like that, or I think that way, or anything like that?
There's a lot of, she's very upset about having a job. She really doesn't, she's been working in this place for 5 months, and she feels like she's gonna die there.
Like a job.
It sounds like it's a job, and it's just, it's awful. I mean, she's really, she's very fixated on feeling pathetic. And she really doesn't want to feel pathetic anymore. And she's very nervous that she doesn't have any real skills, and she doesn't really know. She's lost in her life. I mean, she's 21. But yeah, it's so surreal to get to hear her speak in this voice it's in a language that I never really could understand her in. And it's also at an age where I never knew her. So it's really surreal to now meet this version of my mom and be her elder in a way, and be kind of frustrated with her for not, getting her shit together a little bit more.
Yeah, what an amazing thing to find.
Stop talking about boys, get a different job.
Right, and she did.
Yeah.
When you wrote the book, or I guess before the book, there was a New Yorker piece that kind of became the book, right? I'm curious how it felt, or sort of what led to the decision to put this out there in the world. A very, very personal story that I assume was private until that moment and then became extremely public and then extremely public. How did that all go down?
Yeah, after my mom died, I moved to New York and I got a 9-to-5 job as a sales assistant in an outdoor advertising company. And I always thought, because I had been playing in bands from like 16 to 25 at that time, that if I was the type of person that if I entered the corporate world, I would climb the corporate ladder really quickly and excel. And that was not true. And I was really miserable there, and I would go to work from 9 to 7, and I would go home and I just felt like I didn't do anything that day. I just felt so deeply unfulfilled. And so I started I started mixing an album that I had kind of started in Eugene. And I also felt that I wanted to write an essay about this particular relationship I had with Korean food after my mom died. I thought it was kind of a cute story that I was suddenly, basically I was going to therapy in Union Square, and it was like $100 copay for me to go to Union Square during rush hour after work. And at a certain point, I was just like, I think if I had $400 a month to just take myself out to a nice dinner or buy a bunch of groceries, I would be more mentally stable and happier than going to therapy. Yeah. And so I stopped going to therapy. I started going to H Mart and learning how to make certain foods that I grew up eating, but also strangely foods that my mom was eating when she was sick. And they were Korean foods that her friend had prepared for her that I didn't know how to make. And so I think one part of it was comforting myself with the dishes that my mom made me growing up, but also this almost psychological undoing of the sense of failure I felt at not being able to know what my mom needed during that time. And I thought it made for a cute kind of like Korean Julie and Julia sort of story. And I pitched it to every literary contest without an entry fee and a bunch of blogs. And at a certain point, I was just like, please just take this for free. Please just upload this to your website. And no one wanted it. And then 9 months later, I got an email from Glamour magazine that I thought was spam that said that I had won their essay contest of the year. I got a meeting with the literary agent and $5,000. And so around that time, I went to work and we were doing our end of year reviews. And I thought I was going to get a raise, and they were like, actually, you're not doing a very good job. And the owner was kind of like this cool guy, and I think he felt really bad for me. And he misspoke and said, if you're unhappy here, like, we'll give you a 2-month severance. And so I took my paid Christmas break. I came back and I was like, I'm gonna take the 2-month severance. And then with that $5,000 and the 2-month severance, I had like a good cushion. And I had just been invited to South by Southwest, and my music was sort of starting to bubble up. And I thought this is a good time to see where this is going to go, and I have some financial cushion to see how that pans out. And I never worked a day job again. I did that meeting with the literary agent, who could tell at that time I was about to go on tour and was maybe not super serious about writing the book. So we kind of shelved that. I started to write it on tour, what I thought could be a book someday. And then during my album cycle for my second album, Soft Sounds from Another Planet, Robbie was like, I have this contact at the New Yorker, interactive websites are really in right now. Do you think you could make one? And I was like, sure, yeah, I could do that. And I got on the phone with Michael Agger at the New Yorker, and he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if you have some writing and you want to send it to me, I'll read it. And so I edited the first chapter that I had been working on and sent him Crying in H Mart, and they published it pretty much as is. They wanted me to double check the romanization of the word pangtiki, and they wanted me to take out the last sentence, and that was all of the edits for that first chapter. And yeah, I mean, it was just, at that time, I think that first chapter was not, I mean, it was personal, but it wasn't anything that I was afraid of anyone knowing. If anything, I actually really wanted people to know this about me, because I felt really, really isolated by that experience of being 25 and the months I spent as a caretaker and how ugly that whole time was. That a big part of me wanting to write that book to begin with was desperately wanting people to understand this part of me that I didn't think that they ever would unless I wrote it down.
Right, and it sounds like you'd written it a bit earlier, so you'd had some time to live with it, and you were trying to get it out there, and it wasn't getting out there, so you'd sort of lived with the idea that this would be out there. It wasn't instant.
Yeah, it kind of came in pieces. I think that the stuff that was difficult for me to put out there, one piece of advice that was really helpful that my husband gave me was to just write it and decide later if that was something I wanted to include.
Right.
And of course, the gift of revision was a lot of time spent away rereading something, realizing what felt uncomfortable and wrong. I mean, the first draft of the book was really angry. I mean, I don't know if you had that, what changed in the course of your book, but I didn't realize just how angry I was at every single person in my life until I spent about, I think, 3 months away from the rough draft.
Oh, wow. And
came back in to read it after my editor had sent her notes and realized, there's a lot of work to be done here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you've thought of this, but there's definitely some parallels to your mother's diary with you in a job and feeling kind of pathetic and all that stuff. It's very interesting to be able to see that and put these together. Something a lot of guests unidentified have in common, because I get to choose them, is that we/they are of mixed race, which I always think is interesting and is such a different experience for everyone. But I'm curious to know what it was like as a kid in Eugene, Oregon, of, I would imagine, a very unique racial makeup.
Yeah, I think Eugene is like 98% white. And so I felt, I don't know, I think it went in a cycle for me, and I think it might for a lot of people, but I felt truly just so special in the beginning of my life, getting to have access to cultures, and it made me feel very special. And then you get to middle school where everyone hates everything about themselves, and if you're too tall or you have curly hair or you have freckles, I mean, anything that marks you as different is horrifying. And so around that time I was really I don't know if the right word, I think the thing that I longed for more than anything was to be like a neutral body. I felt very uncomfortable that things could be assumed about my person without my influence at all. And then I think later that became another thing to confront in creative work, where I just never felt like my work could be taken, could be consumed like on merit, and was only going to be appreciated through a certain lens, and that was frustrating for me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You play music with your husband.
I do, yeah. I hired him.
Your husband works for you.
Yeah.
He's an employee.
Yeah.
What is that like? What is that like on tour? What is that like off tour?
It's great. He's actually, we're together, and completely unhealthy amount of time. And he is away for the weekend, and I feel like I'm having this crazy bachelorette weekend on my own. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to like turn the air conditioner on. I don't know how any of the TVs work. Like, I took out the garbage for the first time today in like 8 years. It's really been a liberating, exciting experience. But honestly, it's the best. I don't think I could do this job as often as I do it. I don't know how touring bands are away from their loved ones as much as they are. So it makes it really easy for us. We get along really well. And I remember the first year that we were on tour and being in Belgium and walking around this really beautiful city and going to the park and getting a fry cone and having a nice cocktail with my drummer, and the two of us just being like, it sucks it's with you, you know? So it's really nice now that we get to be together all the time and get to see the world and know what's going on, and yeah.
Yeah, do you spend much time apart? It sounds like he's out of town now, so you do vacations.
This is the one time we've ever spent apart, so
really?
it's really like, liberating for both of us.
Yeah. What is family to you?
I guess him, you know. I guess him and my aunt and my dad in a weird, complicated way.